All right, here we are.
Okay.
All right, we are here for our live training today with Barbara Devlin. She is a national educator. She has been in the beauty industry for 25 years, well, over 25 years, right?
Yep,
25 years?
27 years
Yeah,
licensed.
27. Yeah. And today we are going to teach you how to build your aesthetic practice without harming your client. I am absolutely over the moon that Barbara will be a featured speaker at the Beauty Business Summit this year on October 3rd and 4th. It's a Monday, Tuesday conference. It is the conference to be at if you are looking to advance your education in business marketing and leadership. So Barbara, I'm so excited too. So if you want to see Barbara in person this October, join us in St. Petersburg. So I'm going to hide my camera too, Barbara, so you can kind of take it away, because I saw your slides and man, you guys are in for a treat.
All right. Thank you, Maxine. So thank you everybody for, joining today to really learn how to build your aesthetic practice without harming your client. Another component of this is maybe even just to get you thinking, think about some of the practices that you're currently, using in your salon, in your spa, and then really start to think about, is this really the way I want to go about every time a client comes in for a treatment? So we want to do good and we want to do no harm. Maxine has already introduced me, so I don't really need to get into much of this, but I've been an esthetician for over 25 years. I've been a licensed educator for 25, and I've been oncology trained. So, and I still have an aesthetic room here in the office. I still work on some clients. I've had clients that have been with me for 20 years. So some of them, they just don't want to go to someone else. So I still get to practice. I'm still behind the bed, not as much as I used to be, but I'm still behind the bed. So I have a lot of the same concerns that you have. So as a thank you gift for joining today, everyone will receive a comprehensive new client intake form, and it's covering the whole being, not just specific skin conditions. So everyone who's on the call today will receive this. So my goal today is to explain how I shifted my philosophy on how I treat skin after 25 years in the industry. So stop listening to the media hype. And I had to do this myself. Just to give you a little bit of, a little bit more of my background. I taught at an aesthetic school in Boston for about 20 years. And we taught very, traditional type of aesthetic training. And then I worked for another skincare line for 15 years. And that line was really built around, they're kind of known for doing more chemical peels. So I was traveling around the country for them, training, estheticians, nurses, doctors, how to use their products, especially the back bar. And I was doing, so in my own practice, I was using their products in my own practice on my own clients. And I really found myself getting caught up in every time the client came, it was just, okay, we'll do a peel. Okay, next month we'll add a layer. Okay, next month we'll add a retinol product to maybe help, more exfoliation, because the client, as well as us as estheticians, have definitely bought into this media hype that if the skin isn't peeling and a little uncomfortable, the clients aren't getting, their money's worth. So I also got caught up in this. I was at a trade show in New York, 6 years ago, doing some classes. And I was introduced to a couple came into my class. They listened to me, they left. 2 hours later, I was doing another class and they came back in again. And this time they stayed at the end when I did the demonstration. And then they asked if we could stay in touch. We exchanged business cards. They sent me some product and I started using their product. And then they're based out of Israel. So they invited me to go to Israel and I went to Israel. And that was where I had access to their manufacturing plant, the philosophy on the line. And that's when I really started to shift. And the line follows the European Union standards of formulations. And that's when I really started, my eyes really started opening, and I felt like that I was just as guilty as, doing the type of treatments that my clients were asking for, because that's what they thought was what they needed to do for their skin. And I learned a different way to treat skin, and that's what I'm hoping to share with you today. So, what would your life look like if you were to offer worry-free, no downtime treatments? You'd have freedom. You could customize your treatments. You could mix and match enzymes with AHAs, freedom to offer, maybe you have an LED machine or you have an ultrasonic, and now you want to maybe do an add-on, do a 20-minute add-on and increase your hourly income. If you do layer and leave on type of treatments, type of peels, that doesn't leave you with a lot of options to do at the end of a treatment. But if you do treatments that you put the peel on, you remove it, now you can do LEDs at the end. And these are treatments that you can do that once you've paid for that piece of equipment, there's no other overhead. So they're, going to be low overhead treatments. And then financial freedom, because if you're doing these worry-free, no downtime treatments, now you can have clients, they can rebook every 4 weeks, as opposed to doing, a more aggressive treatment where they can't come back for 8 to 10. Every time a customer, a client comes into our aesthetic room, it's another way for us to work smarter, not harder, by retail. So, they come in every 4 weeks. That's every 4 weeks we have another opportunity, to get maybe 1 or 2 other products in their hands on the retail side. So these are going to be our, these misconceptions that we have in our field. So, treatments must be uncomfortable to offer results. Clients must see visible peeling to know they're getting their money's worth. This is the biggest thorn in our side when we're offering those type of treatments, when we offer peels. And then you must use organic or preservative-free or all natural products to be considered a holistic practitioner. So I want to show you today how to build a clientele while following the no pain, no gain philosophy. So the first one is offer treatments that make your client want to return again and again. Treat the whole being, get results, relaxation, and rejuvenate. I myself have an esthetician, and I really, when I go to her, I can't wait to go back to her. And she performs treatments that there's no downtime. I see definite results in my skin. And a lot of, what she does, I could do to myself if I really wanted to, as far as, the products that she uses on my skin. But I want the whole experience. And especially during, COVID and this pandemic and everything else now that's going on in the world, clients really aren't looking, at least my client base, I can only speak for myself, my client base are not looking for that 30-minute treatment that we bragged about for years, like lunchtime peel. My client base doesn't want that any longer. They want to be able to come in, they want to relax, they share with us. To me, it's the whole body experience, not just coming in and having a peel on their face. We want to be able to offer no downtime treatments. Can your client really take off time from work for facial rejuvenation? I mean, we see it on social media. There are some peels being offered in our industry that, sometimes they recommend the client doesn't even go outside for 5 days. So, if your client is, a working woman or man, can they really take that time off for a peel? I'll be 100% honest. If I have to take a week off from work, I would prefer to have plastic surgery. Okay, I'll have a tummy tuck or something if I have to take that time off from work. And then you want to find a company that shares your philosophy of treating the skin while supporting the barrier. That is, a huge part of doing holistic aesthetics, is really making sure that that stratum corneum is in really healthy condition and that our barrier and our microbiome are all supported.
Yeah, can you leave it on that slide
Yeah,
still?
absolutely. Yep.
You know what, Barbara, you said something a little earlier, and I really want to know if anyone else resonates with this. You're like, you went through that phase of, buying into the hype and the traditional and feeling guilty. and I too, as you were saying, like, so how many people have um, on this training today have felt guilty or did something or something happened where you are like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I need to make this switch. I need to look into more holistic options. I'm curious because I used to do the levulonic acid and when I worked with a practitioner, Barbara, and it's brutal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think, and when we know better, we can do better. And it's so true. It's like I'm forever the student. I don't know about you guys, but I learned so much from you, Barbara. Thank you so much for sharing. I wanted these 3 keys to stay up a little longer. And key number 3 really resonates with me as well because, really finding a company that shares your philosophy. We talked about that just a little bit before we started recording about what is your belief system, what is your philosophy, and not being afraid to stand in your truth and finding someone who shares that vision with you. And that's just really important. So
Mm-hmm.
thanks for letting me stop you.
Absolutely. Yep. No, absolutely. So misconception number 1, treatments must be uncomfortable to offer results. So we want to be able to perform safe, pain-free treatments that repair, rejuvenate, and still maintain healthy skin. So this is a testimonial from a local salon here in the Boston area. Anyone who's from Massachusetts would be familiar with this spa. And they've been open maybe for about 20 years. And this is Jane. She's one of the owners. So our spa has been in business for 16 years. Well, there is 16. And we have used several different skincare product lines. We chose to integrate Analotan Pro products because of their pure and active ingredients with respect for the barrier. We strive to bring products that are results-oriented as well as meet the needs of individual skin types, including sensitive skin and rosacea. And that is really important for us because especially during COVID and clients wearing masks, we're seeing a lot more maskne, rosacea. Rosacea is 6 million Americans alone suffer from rosacea. So, when these clients come into our practice, we have to find other ways to treat them and not just going to the standard back bar with putting on, a more active, peel on them. We need to find a balance. So, education is key, and that's really important for us. You'll all receive this consultation form. With this consultation form, and let's say you've been in practice for, 5 years or even longer, and you kind of gotten away from this, maybe after today's, class, you download this consultation form and you really start to look at it and see if there's questions on this form that aren't on one of the forms that you're already using, or maybe you start with your clients and say, listen, we're the salon's back in business, we're back open full time, and I really want to start, a new protocol. I want to really, let's sit down again. I know we know each other, but let's start again from scratch and just really go over this consultation form, explain to the client why you choose the products that you choose, what are they looking for, and why do they feel that visible peeling is the most important thing for their treatment results. So, it's our job to educate the client, and the consultation form would be, a tool for you to use to do that. So, we've talked about it before. We're getting caught up in this marketing hype that aggressive treatments are the way to repair and renew skin. So, clients will come to us, I still have clients that will come in and they'll say, my friend went to, so-and-so, and this is what she got, or my friend goes to Dr. Smith and and they all think that whatever their friend gets is going to be the perfect treatment for them. And we know that no 2 clients are alike, but also getting caught up in like the marketing hype. So does this client, this picture, she's probably in her late 20s. She has no lines, small pores, plump skin. Does she really need medical microneedling? We know she doesn't, but she's going to be on TikTok and she's going to see, or her friends are receiving this treatment and they're going to come in and this is what they're going to request from us. And it's really our responsibility to really, that's when you sit down and educate the client and say, listen, this isn't really what's needed. If your client, say this client comes in and she's in her late 60s, she may also not be a really good candidate for this medical microneedling either, because her metabolism is definitely slowed down in her 60s. She's not going to heal as fast as someone in their 30s. So it's all these considerations we have to take before we decide to proceed with whatever treatment we want to offer our client. So we want to offer these no downtime treatments, and we want to make that client return for more. Have the courage to trust your intuition. So you want to listen to what the client has to say. What are their concerns? Sometimes a client they'll tell us something that is their main concern, and we look at their skin and see something completely different that we probably would have brought up. So, hear the client, analyze them, use your hands, feel, touch their skin. And then maybe the first time, or if you have a new client, the first time you offer maybe an enzyme treatment, we really just want to see how their skin responds, and then we can move on from there. But trust what you see, trust your education that you've received. Stop beating up the stratum corneum. The environment does this daily. So we want to use ingredients that restore and maintain barrier support. So there's DNA damage, from air pollution, ionizing radiation, anything below 400 on the electromagnetic spectrum will have ionizing rays. So that's, you're going through the airport, UV rays fall into that spectrum. So we're being bombarded all day long, the stratum corneum is. So let's look at things that do more restore and maintain the barrier, as opposed to constantly just stripping it. Feed the skin, that can be even more important sometimes, depending on the client comes in, look at their skin. We're located, the U.S. headquarters for Arnold is located 10 miles north of Boston in Woburn, Massachusetts. So pretty much December rolls around and you feel, right away our skin is different here. It's drier. So maybe, constantly just peeling the skin at this time of year isn't the right time. And they come in, I feed their skin. I love ultrasonic. It's one of my favorite modalities in the industry. And I use it on I squeeze it in somehow almost on every client. Treat the skin with biomimetic components as much as possible. So bio means life and mimetic means to mimic. So we're using ingredients that mimic what is naturally occurring in our bodies. And when we use these type of components, we have less irritation and negative side effects. So I'll just give you a list of some of these ingredients that really help with barrier support. So we have urea, which is part of our natural moisturizing factor. It's a humectant. Mineral salts, they influence hydration of the stratum corneum. Polysaccharides, an example would be hyaluronic acid. Niacinamide, which is an amazing ingredient, helps to restore the barrier, reduces inflammation. We know it also helps with, pigment issues. It's a melanogenesis inhibitor. Amino acids improve elasticity. Antioxidants, from that photo that we just saw of the, the stratum corneum being attacked. Antioxidants, it's so important for us to have them on our skin, especially during the daytime hours. Phospholipids, these make up the brick and mortar, these make up the mortar in our skin. And then fatty acids, some of them, Siberian sea buckthorn is one that in the Arnold line, we use this a lot. Linoleic acid is another one. So these are all great for environmental damage. So whatever line you're working with, you just want to really pay attention to the ingredient panel and make sure that you're using some of these components. This is not the type of injury that we're looking for. So this is, from Sex and the City. When I was working with the peel line, this was our biggest thorn in our side because it could go one way or another. A client, watched that episode and they said, oh, I'll never do my professional treatment, or it can go the opposite. You know, if they don't end up looking like this, they don't think they got their money's worth. So this is kind of it's a kind of a funny photo. Can go either way, but this is not our goal. We want to do a controlled wound or a controlled injury to encourage a wound response to stimulate collagen. So controlled is the big word here. Now, I don't know if anyone saw over the weekend that horrific picture of an African-American young guy, probably in his 30s maybe. He had a TCA peel. He was in the Atlanta area. He had a TCA peel, and he definitely had, I would say, would be considered a second-degree burn. It went into his papillary dermis, maybe a little deeper, I'm not sure. And he was all over social media. Once you put a peel on a client's skin, it's delivered, you know, it's in there. Now we can maybe add something to hopefully stop it from going deeper, but once you put it on, it's on. So this gentleman, I mean, he's going to have a long road to recovery. And I'm sure he's probably had a lawyer or two already reach out to him. And that's not a worry-free treatment, right? So we're trying to do a controlled wound, so which are really more worry-free. And then again, considerations, you know, their skin condition, their skin type. I already just mentioned the aging factor, and the client's health is also important when we decide what professional treatment we want to use on them. And then the wound healing process can be aided by antioxidants. So, you know, it's really critical that we send clients home with post kits. You know, you can't have a client come in for a professional treatment with us unless you know what they're using at home. If they're using your products, that's one thing, and that's fine. But you want to be very specific and tell them what to use, because maybe they don't use the whole line. They're probably not going to use if there's a retinol in the line that they normally use, you know, you're going to tell them don't use that. So be very specific. Maybe you make a little card. You know, in Canva, you can type up a little card and say, listen, you're already using the products that I sell at the salon, but this is what I want you to do for the next 4 or 5 days. You can go back onto your regular routine after, but once we've started to heal. So this is an analogy. I like to use the roller coaster. So we're trying to cause enough of a controlled wound or injury on the skin that we're just chugging up the roller coaster, just cause a little bit of inflammation on that skin and not going over. So because once we go over, this is like that picture I was just, you know, mentioned, that guy in Atlanta, that esthetician, it went over. And now it's going to take a long road back. So we just want to do enough of an injury with the ingredients that we put on the skin just to cause that little bit of a wound response without going over the edge. You know, you have to remember, our corneocytes are programmed to exfoliate anyways. If a client didn't come to us, that top layer of skin will exfoliate. Now, they may not, or we may not visibly see this exfoliation that happens monthly, but it is happening. So we just want to add a little bit of product just to push it along a little, but not overdo it. And kind of going back to the age thing, if we have clients in their 40s and they don't do any type of exfoliation, they don't come to us on a monthly basis, or use maybe something at home, those corneocytes, it can take them 40 days to exfoliate. Whatever decade the client's in age-wise, that is how slow their natural exfoliation can be. So we need to help them along. This is really an example of blanching. So inflammation can cause more issues than what they even came to us for. So, you know, treating with overly aggressive treatments and products will worsen, not correct the condition. Now, if we've blanched a client, that means we've gone into at least the papillary dermis. So this would be out of our scope of licensure as estheticians for one, and it really is considered a second degree, a superficial second degree burn on the client. Now, I'm a Fitzpatrick 1. So if I did, if I did go to someone and this did happen to me, I would heal. It might take a little bit. I'd be red, and then pink, and then I'd be healed. But if someone as a high Fitzpatrick came to us, this is a real problem for them because they could either hypo or hyperpigment, down the road with this. So we really want to follow a low dose approach. So now this comes right out of Milady's, which most all of us have trained under, in aesthetic school or even for, continuing education. So the pH range should be approximately 3.0 to 4.0, and the percentage of the acid should be between 12 and 18% for bioavailability. This allows the skin to absorb the AHA quickly and effectively, and bioavailability is the degree to which a drug or other substance becomes available to the target tissue after administration. So let's go back to this slide. Look at your, whatever line you're working with, look at their professional peels and see where their pH range is. If bioavailability, if for the best outcome for our clients is between a 3 and a 4, most lines will be much lower than this. And the lower the pH, the more aggressive the peel is, and there's more chance of running into some type of a complication. And on the percentage side, we always think that, oh, we need the higher percentage. If I don't have that high percentage, it's not going to work. And again, for bioavailability, the acid, that AHA percentage should be between 12 and 18. Now with Anolotan, because we follow European Union standards for formulations, we're right in the middle of this. We're at 3.5 and 16. Now, if you come from that no pain, no gain mentality, and that you think, the more aggressive is better, this is where I really want you to start, maybe using, products that fall within this range. And maybe you have to do, the client comes for a series and they have to end up doing maybe 4, treatments as opposed to 3 treatments. But I'd much rather have them come back for that 4th one than maybe use products that were too strong for them to begin with. So it's really, it's a switch of your mindset.
So go back. I love that slide. Go back to that.
Yeah.
Because this range and the pH range and the percentage of acid. Well, first of all, Barbara, I'm going to be honest. I haven't looked at Milady's book since school, so it's really. I mean, but we all, like, the textbook is the same across the U.S. So this is a guideline to follow no matter what state you're in. Correct?
Right. Absolutely. Yep. In most states, I mean, of course, you'd have to check your own state yourself, but so I'm in Massachusetts. In Massachusetts, we are not supposed to go below a 3.0. Now, when does that matter to you as an esthetician? It matters when, because I know everyone's using peels that are lower than this, because I used to myself. Okay, so I'll throw myself right in the bunch. But when that becomes an issue for us is, so we all have to have insurance. So I have insurance that covers me when I'm working on a client. If I have an issue, say I used a peel that was much lower and the client had a reaction and the client decided to sue me, which is probably what's going to happen with that guy in Atlanta, the insurance company, whoever it is, whichever company you go with, they only cover you if you're following the standard for your state. So let's say I'm in Massachusetts and I chose to do a peel on my client that was a pH of 1.9 and they had an issue and they sue me, I automatically lose the case because I was practicing outside of my scope of licensure in Massachusetts. So you need to really make sure, go onto the rules and regs of the state board of the state that you're in to see where you are covered for your insurance.
That's amazing, Barbara. Daisy was like, I just had about 4 classes on chemical peels for continuing education, and no one has ever mentioned the pH of 3 or 4.
Yeah. In
So,
the EU, it's 3.5. So, the Europeans, if you're an esthetician on here and you're originally from Europe, European estheticians are all, I shouldn't say all, but most of them, Visadesco trained. And so they have, 2 years of education and they follow these standards in Europe. So you have some of the best trained estheticians globally, and they're following
mm,
what's on this screen right now,
right.
because that's what the companies that they work with, European based companies, they have to follow this. So Arnold is, the home office is in Israel. We follow the European Union standards for formulations. And because and that doesn't matter, even though I'm selling them here in the United States, we have FDA approval for all our products in our formulations, and we still follow European Union because we just feel they're a safer, more efficient way to get to the end result for our clients. I don't want to have to worry that I'll ever be sued using a product. And again,
Well,
there's other lines, I'm sure, that also follow this philosophy.
absolutely. And it's not just being sued. I think at the end of the day, each one of us as estheticians want to do the right thing. We
Absolutely.
want to do
Yeah.
good by our client, and we want to provide, our job is to make them look and feel more beautiful.
Right, right,
So,
right.
yeah,
There's nothing like getting that phone call. I mean, we've probably all done it with waxing, that one time we didn't ask if they were using a retinol and we, you know, wax the eyebrow and a thin layer of skin came off. I mean, that keeps you awake at night. Those things keep you
totally.
awake at night, so
Totally.
most of us have all experienced that. You never not ask again. You do learn from your mistakes, unfortunately. Well, it's a good thing, I guess, right? So, again, the low dose approach, a low dose approach applied often is more successful than the intense treatments currently performed. And again, back to the retail side of it, if we do the low dose approach, they can come back to us every 4 to 6 weeks, and then we have more opportunity for the retail sales. So we're staying somewhere between vinegar and tomatoes. That's a safe zone for us on this pH scale. So we're all familiar with the pH scale. 7 is, neutral. So we're staying, when we perform these treatments, we're staying on to the left-hand side. And when you use an enzymes don't have a pH, so they're usually always safe for clients. So we're somewhere between, vinegar and tomato on the scale.
Right. Hold that slide up for a
Yep.
second, because someone asked about if you could speak about pH versus pKa.
So, the pH is really depending on the company. They'll go one way or another. So they'll either, do the potential hydrogen, which is what the pH is. So I know with Analotan, we go by pH. I don't know if that answers your question at all.
So some
What
companies,
were you specifically looking for? Like
mhm.
on the organic chemistry side of it? What were they asking for?
It was pretty vague. Barbara, if you could type in a little bit more specifically not you, Barbara, another
Yeah,
Barbara,
yeah.
about pH versus pKa. It wasn't clear. So
Okay.
we'll wait till what she says. Go ahead. I
All right.
sorry to interrupt. I love the scale.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's a nice visual, to
Yep.
see. And is it ever appropriate? I don't want people to come on here and say, oh, we can never do these more active treatments for clients. Is it ever appropriate? Absolutely it is. If you have clients that come to you with acne scarring, maybe, more than superficial, deeper lines and wrinkles, but under the care of a medical professional, because if we're doing treatments that go below the epidermis, we're out of our scope of licensure. So maybe you work in in a med spa. Again, remember, at that point, you're not under your license. At that point, you're under the doctor's license. So, in care, if you do these, more active treatments, the client will definitely need extra post care to avoid infection. So if a one-time deeper resurfacing treatment is appropriate for your client, You then need to recommend barrier supporting home care and treatments to restore and repair. So that's why, some lines have post-peel kits or post-treatment kits, but if they don't, you want to make sure that you can put one together yourself, just using a combination of whatever products you have already in your practice. Some of the causes of aging is oxidative stress, glycation, telomere shortening. So this next sentence is the important one. It's the progressive damage to these structures and functions that characterizes aging. So it's continually doing some of these more aggressive treatments. So if I know we don't say to a client, and I've kind of said this always when I would teach, because we're putting lactic acid on glycolic, or mandelic, or, whatever type of acid on the skin. We don't say to our client, oh, I'm going to throw a little acid on your face. Okay. We don't word it that way to them, but that is what we're doing. So when if we stay between that 3 and 4 on the pH scale, and 16 to 18, no, 12 to 18, I'm sorry, on the percentage, that is on the epidermis. It is considered a first-degree burn. We don't really think of it that way, but it is. Now, if we go deeper, a second-degree superficial means we're in the papillary dermis, and then a second degree deep is in the reticular dermis, and then of course, a third degree burn. So we as estheticians want to stay in the epidermis, and that way we're causing just a slight wound or a slight injury. If you go into the papillary, we're out of our scope of licensure. There's more chance for, hypo or hyperpigmentation, and this should really be done under a medical supervision. But for this client, once they heal from, if they felt maybe they had deep acne scarring and they went for one of these treatments, then they come to us for the maintenance. And then, we want to help in the healing process. We want to keep them hydrated, and then maybe we do an enzyme, to help remove some of that dead skin that's built up. So, but this is kind of it's eye-opening, because we really are doing a burn. This goes back to the picture of Samantha, for her. So now there is a theory out there, and it's called the Hayflick limit. And this was discovered by Dr. Leonard Hayflick. And he did testing and research on how many times can a cell divide. And they came back with, they think, about 50 times. So each time a cell replicates, it loses a piece of the end of the DNA chain called the telomere. And that was one of the components. This is part of the aging process. So the good news for us as estheticians is cells in the epidermis are stem cells. They have no Hayflick limit. So performing these superficial treatments will not premature age the skin. That's why the study was done, because there were questions like, are we aging the client's skin by doing these really more aggressive treatments? And this is what his research found. So when we stay within our scope of licensure, now we know we can put, ingredients on the skin that we can send messages to the dermis, but if we stay in the epidermis, these clients can come back to us monthly for treatments. It's all about balance and moderation. We want to practice within our scope of licensure, which I just mentioned. And for estheticians, we're staying in the epidermis. And then when we, once the skin is in a healthy state, these are other modalities that support the no pain, no gain philosophy. So I love ultrasonic. I mentioned that earlier. I love LEDs. And I love microcurrent. So these are, other modalities that we can add into our treatment room, that once you pay for that device, these things that we can do as an add-on, especially like the LED lights. And we still stay within that holistic framework. We're not doing anything aggressive on the client. And if they come on a regular basis, they'll definitely see a big improvement in their skin. This is really important in part of the when you get the client intake form. you need to be flexible, and you have to really listen to the client. So every client has a budget, and the budget doesn't necessarily always mean it's a financial budget. It could be a time restraint. Maybe they travel, they have young children, there could be many things that can affect who can come, when they can come. And so you want to really, look at this and, have a conversation with the client and say, is it feasible really for you to come monthly? This is what it would cost you, on a monthly basis. Or like New England, it's kind of easy for us in New England because, we have 4 seasons. So sometimes most of my clients book 4, 5, or 6 weeks apart, but I have a couple of clients, they have children in college, so the money is a little tighter and they just come quarterly. They're like, okay, I'll come once a season. If that's your client and they can't come on a monthly basis, you at least want to get them on home care. And, again, start slow. Maybe you start with 3 products, put out 3 products and say, do you think you could do this routine daily? For us in the industry, it's always, oh, absolutely. But not everyone, comes from our mindset, and they didn't have a love of skincare as from teenagers. So, for them, they might say, oh, that's too many products. Find what will work for them. And then, that's where you have the conversation. And maybe you offer, I don't know, some of you have, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a club or a membership, maybe that's the way you want to go to maybe encourage them to come back on a more regular basis. Or if they buy the package, you include some, maybe 2 or 3 products with it the first time, whatever works in your situation. But getting them on home care is really one of the most important factors because of the 59-to-1 rule. If someone's taken any trainings from me, you've heard me say this before, but if there are 30 days in the average month, and we recommend clients wash their face twice a day. So that means that 60 times a month, they can be using products at home to do correction or maintenance on their skin. So 59 times a month, they can be using products at home, and then once a month, they come to us. So retail is really, it's our bread and butter. It's what pays our overhead. It could be paying your employees' salaries, it could be paying part of your salary, it could be paid for your education, any classes that you want to take. So, retail is really important because if a client doesn't doesn't follow up in between appointments for us, they really won't see, really great results. And we need them to see really good results because that's going to be better for us. That's the reason that they come to us. So retail is very important. So the 59-to-1 rule, if they can't come maybe they can only come quarterly, trying to get them to buy, and every time they come, start with the main product you think they need, and then we can add to it. So you want to add, kind of go back to that list from earlier in the presentation on, the products that really support their barrier, and try to mingle in, a couple of serums in between. And eventually they'll have a nice home care regimen that they can follow. So misconception number 2, visible peeling determines the efficacy of the treatment. So I've touched base on this a little bit, in the previous section. So our goal is opening those channels, allowing in the peptides. So we need to let in peptides, hydrators, essential fatty acids, brighteners, melanogenesis inhibitors, and other correctives. Visible flaking is not the goal. And during your consultation, that would be another time to ask the client, why do you think that's so important? This is Sylvia, who was another client of Anna Lotan. And, she said, she's also an educator. And for many years, she was having people come to her looking for correction because they had treatments done that were too aggressive. So she switched over to a more holistic type of, her philosophy. And again, she can use ultrasonics, LEDs, and microcurrents and she uses Anna Lotan. So it's really a nice blend of the whatever skincare line you want to use with these modalities. This is a picture, and I did, many years ago, I had a treatment where I did have this type of peeling, and this is not anything I would ever do to my skin again. And can the average client take time off from work for this type of treatment? And if you do offer these treatments, maybe it is that one time, can you really trust clients to follow through 100%? In the acid mantle, the skin barrier, and the microbiome disturbed after this type of peeling. So time and post-care are critical. At the end of this class, we do have an offer, and one of them is it's a class on the barrier and the microbiome. We talk a lot about microbiome, but I really get into, what it is specifically, where it's located, and why it's important. We talked about it before. Desquamation is a natural and active process influenced by chemical signals or changes from the inside out. So desquamation will happen naturally. We don't need to go in with like a jackhammer. We just need to gently encourage it to move along. Again, overly aggressive treatments, we're falling into it as the consumer has. So we want to just open the channels, allow in, with these open the channels with AHAs and BHAs and enzymes, and then let these active ingredients do their job. And ideally, if you could get a client on a vitamin A, a vitamin C, and antioxidants, that's a great way to start. We want to keep the skin really well hydrated with actives such as glycerin, hyaluronic acid. And let's say you had a client that came to you and maybe she was in her 60s, or even someone younger, but they hadn't taken care of their skin. If you can get them on home care first to really keep them hydrated, that alone will help speed up their slowing down of their desquamation. So just getting them on home care will help once you get them in the room. Monthly chemical peels are not always necessary for every client every time they come to us. So you really need to really look at what you have on your back bar and see what other options you have when peeling isn't always necessary. Enzymes, I love enzymes. I'm sure we all have them on our back bar. In a proteolytic enzyme, they help to break down, the proteins. So there's many different ones. Pineapple, papaya, from figs, mango, banana. So, look at your, whatever line you're working with, and you definitely want to bring enzymes onto your back bar. And enzymes can be your main treatment. They don't have to be only like for a first-time client. They're also appropriate to do in between other treatments. They're superficial, so they're within our scope of licensure. No recovery time, there's no flaking. You can do them on sensitive skin. It doesn't disrupt the pH, better product penetration, and you can use other modalities with it. I will always caution though, make sure that you read the manufacturer's protocols for these. I know there's a line that has a pumpkin enzyme that they only recommend Fitzpatrick's 1 to 4. So you really need to know whatever line you're working with, make sure you follow the directions for that protocol. Signs that we'll see if a client over exfoliates, that rough, dry skin, not smooth, dehydrated skin. A lot of times clients, they think that tight, squeaky feeling is good, not necessarily. They can have itchy skin, rashes, and an impaired barrier. Another misconception is practicing holistic aesthetics means the products need to be preservative-free, organic, all natural, and you can't use chemical peels. So this is going to be the last section. So you can offer holistic treatments and products that are not organic, all natural, or preservative-free. So this is a testimonial from Holly. Some of you may be familiar with Holly. She started a local nonprofit here in Massachusetts. She offers treatments to clients going through radiation or chemotherapy for cancer. So we have partnered with her, and they use my facility to do their trainings. Also, we donate our space for them to work on cancer patients. And she now also uses Analotan products, because we definitely have to find, more holistic type of products to use on this clientele. So organic refers to the ingredients in the product. Holistic refers to the approach. In order for a product to be considered organic, it really only has to have 95% of the ingredients have to be organic. So 5% don't have to be organic. So again, it's all about marketing and what they can put on labels. Do they have to be preservative free? Cosmetics, like any product containing water, require preservation against microbial contamination. All products will have FDA approval, and that's really what they're looking for. They need our clients to be safe. So to prevent that microorganism growth, the formulations would either have to be below a 4 or above a 10 on the pH scale, and that would just irritate or damage the skin. So not all preservatives are unsafe. The danger is in the dose. Too much of anything isn't good for us, and the same, it can hold true with preservatives. So natural does not mean safe, and synthetic does not mean dangerous. So some natural ingredients are irritating or even harmful to the skin. I used to, joke, say, poison ivy is natural, but we don't want to roll around in it. But there are other ingredients, that have been tested and revised repeatedly, and it increases their efficacy and their safety. And so natural doesn't also mean that it's sustainable. So here's a perfect example. So botulism, an uncommon but potentially very serious illness. It's a type of food poisoning caused by the botulinum toxin. Now man can take botulism from this toxin, and chemists and scientists can reformulate it and make it safe for like people with TMJ, hyperhidrosis, migraines, and maybe limit, when we use Botox, for cosmetic reasons, to limit muscle contraction. So we feel that we can trust scientists to take an ingredient, botulism, and make it safe. I do believe that we can use other components from nature that aren't dangerous to us, and they can be very safe on our skin. So we don't have to have all, it doesn't have to be all natural. You can have very beneficial synthetically made products that have been tested over and over again. Again, the pH range, can you offer chemical peels and be considered a holistic esthetician? Absolutely. If we stay within that range that we spoke about earlier, that 3 to 4 and 12 and 18, we're not disrupting, the stratum corneum. We're loosening those desmosomes and that the mortar holding those cells together in a very gentle way for bioavailability. So, what does a holistic esthetician do? They look at the bigger picture. We're going to look for causes, really, go through that comprehensive intake form. Look at lifestyle, genetics, stress, diet, and health with the client. We don't want to do any harm. We're looking to improve the look, the feel, the function of the skin without buying into that marketing hype, and treat the whole being, relaxation, touch, and welcoming. I mentioned it earlier. I look forward to my monthly appointments with my esthetician, because when I go there, I feel it's just wellness for my, my soul, my mental health. It's all included. Protecting the skin barrier is the primary responsibility of a trusted professional. Do no harm. So we can build our practice with care. Visible peeling does not determine the efficacy of the treatment. And you can practice holistic aesthetics and still deliver results for your clients. Is anyone already offering these type of treatments? Have you found that you've lost some clients, but you've gained more? So it really kind of balanced out. And do you want to be offering treatments that you have to worry about? I know I don't want to offer those type of treatments any longer, and I can still offer safe peels and exfoliation, but I like to incorporate the ultrasonic, LED lights, microcurrent into all my treatments. Find a company that shares your philosophy. We really want to support that barrier. And this kind of a recap is, we can offer treatments that make your client want to return. Peeling is not the goal. It's the, physical peeling. It's the added ancillary ingredients that really is key to the treatment. And that's what you want to explain to your client. It's not so much that your skin's peeling, it's what ingredients have I added into your skin or delivered into your skin to do the correction or the maintenance. And you can be a holistic practitioner in your approach and use gentle peels that offer correction. So we have a couple of offerings today. So everyone will receive this intake form, but then I have a certification class that's on the compromised skin and the skin microbiome. And then as a bonus to that class, we have a bonus class on treating excessive redness and rosacea. So this is an offer that you're welcome to. At the end of this class, we'll put the link up and you can, jump in and take advantage of this if you're interested. The rosacea class, Anna Lotan has just launched a new line called Rosies. So the beginning of that bonus class, I'm really talking about rosacea, and it can be with any line that you're currently working with. And at the end, I get into the specifics of these 9 SKUs that in the new Anna Lotan line. But this will be beneficial, both classes, no matter what product line you're currently working with. So it's a $400 value. And then for today's offer, for, a thank you for coming on to this, webinar, we're offering it today for $99. Invest in your education. And then just be skin kind, learn new best practices. And this is a great way to do it. Just kind of learn about compromised skin. We already talked about, we don't need to do these really aggressive treatments. So I can't thank you enough for, coming on today and listening. If you have any questions afterwards, we'll stay on. I think I went over. So I don't know how much time I have for Q&A, but, you can always reach me. We have the website is annalotanusa.com, and you can reach me, Barbara, at annalotan.com if you have any questions. But I'll hand this back over to Maxine and see if there's anything I need to, any questions anyone has.
Yes, we definitely have questions. So Barbara, come back on so we can, this was really informative. How many people really enjoyed this class? Because I know I did as an esthetician. I get so knee deep in marketing that
Oh,
here, let me drop in.
I see. Stop share.
Yep,
and then here we go. Okay, am I on? Can you see me?
I can see you.
Okay, great. Okay,
Beautiful
good. Okay,
as
good.
ever.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I think mine, let's see, gallery view. All right, we do have some questions, so I definitely want to answer those. People are like, this is a great class. Barbara is an incredible instructor. Holy cow. Like when I started posting that this class was happening, people were messaging me, Barbara. They're like, oh my God, I love her. There was comments. You're just so loved in the industry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chastity. So here's the link for the where you get the 2 classes, the $400 value for only $99. And Barbara, how long are each one of those certification classes?
So the compromised skin with the microbiome is about 45, they're both about 45 minutes.
Okay.
45. The first one, skin microbiome, might be closer to 50, but the other one's about 45.
Okay, that's going to be great. All right, let me get to these questions because there were some really good ones. Barbara's Instagram, do you have your own or is it Anna Lotan?
No, I just do Anna Lotan's. So it's Anna, ANNA _ Lotan _ pro _ USA. It's a lot, sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Okay, let's, everyone was, okay, there were some really good questions, so hang tight. Scrolling back up. Hang on.
Chastity, these glasses are from the dollar store.
Oh my gosh, that is so fun.
Yeah.
Lauren just got recently oncology trained. That's fantastic.
That's great.
Okay, so Denise wants to know what if the bottle reads salicylic 20% mandelic acid, 10% with a pH of, oh my gosh, one, well, we already know, 1.5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'll speak to Massachusetts because that's where I'm located. In Massachusetts, estheticians, we can't use a BHA above 2% in Massachusetts.
Oh,
And I
wow.
know, yeah, isn't that, well, that's low, most companies, they formulate around 20. So even with these percentages, the pH alone is too low for, I mean, that's really low, 1.5. So that's a pretty active treatment, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be out of our scope of licensure. Maybe it doesn't penetrate, the BHA we know is going to penetrate into the follicle. It's really in there. That's what its job is, to really break up the compaction within the follicle and in the oils. Maybe the client won't blanch with that, but it's definitely low for our pH as estheticians. So again, you would have to check your insurance company and see if you're
Okay.
covered. Right?
Okay. There was another really good question here too. Thank you for that. Oh, Barbara added more about that pH to the pKa, and she's talking about availability of the acid to the skin. If the pKa of the product is higher than the pH of the acid, has the solution been buffered, i.e. a base added? That
I'm going to be
buffering.
honest. I would be guessing if I gave you the answer. I really don't know the answer to that. I'd have to look it up. I'd have to do some research. I
Okay.
don't know. And who may be able to answer that for you would be the manufacturer. Whoever you're buying the product from, they should be able to let you know if it's buffered or not.
Right, right.
Right. So I don't know every, company out there. I don't know.
So Michelle asks, is it safe to assume dermaplaning isn't holistic? Can we just be honest on here?
Okay.
Let's just
Okay.
do it. I think they want honesty. We've had a really good
Okay.
discussion.
So I have been teaching dermaplaning for a long time. Okay. Because again, I got caught up in the hype. Everyone's doing dermaplaning now. All right. So dermaplaning we know was popular many, many years ago. And then no one was talking about dermaplaning. And then all of a sudden it started coming back again. Like we weren't even teaching it. We had stopped teaching it at the aesthetic school I was working at. And then when I was working for this other company, they started sending me around the country training physicians' offices how to do this. So I got caught up in the hype and I started doing it. Okay. Now I'm down to one client left. I've weaned all my clients off of it because I do feel like, skin it's not like a flat surface, like a desk. There's like nooks and crannies. So we're not exfoliating on an even level. And so the one client that I have left, I oil plane her now. She likes to get rid of that vellus hair. So I do, we have a moringa oil that I use. Maxine and I have been talking about this, I actually stopped teaching it because it's kind of gone against where I'm going in
Your philosophy.
my philosophy has changed. Yeah.
Right. And I think it's okay. I think all of us reach that point. I did too. I did too. I reached that point. I think many estheticians on this class today have probably reached that point, except for Lauren, who said, I was holistic out of the gate.
Yeah.
Good for you. I mean, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. And then, so what about Regenerate?
I like it. It doesn't really, I have a couple of different devices, microneedling devices, because again, I jumped on that bandwagon over 10 years ago. I went to a training in Arizona, my first training, but a lot of these pens now you can buy the nano tip. And I feel the nano tip is a really healthy way to go. We can, if the client's looking to plump, they have an event to go to. I prefer the Regenerate now to microneedling. You know, the problem with microneedling is, because I teach microneedling, I've been teaching microneedling for 10 years, is estheticians, they want to see blood. You know, they want to see that little bit of tiki eye. And if they don't, they don't feel like the client's getting the right treatment. If we stay in the epidermis with microneedling, we're still stimulating cytokines and growth factors by staying in the epidermis. We don't need to get into where there's blood, and that's a whole nother subject, because you have the medical profession who is, you know, they're trying to edge us out, you know, constantly. They want the clients, and they promote it as that's a much better treatment. And the clients believe, again, the marketing hype. So Regenerate I love those type of treatments. I like the nano tip better than I do the needle. So.
Yeah, because that's like I heard a training once with the Regenerate, because I like it too, and they call it a epidermis disruptor instead of like, and so I really liked that analogy. I was like, ooh, you know, that's really good. Yeah, so I dropped in the free intake form for joining us today as your free gift. We had a lot of people stay on to the end, so they wanted to definitely ask more questions. How many people are signing up for the $99 certification where you're getting the 2 classes? I'm just curious because, oh yay, Cheryl, awesome. Luz, awesome. Great, great, great. How long is the offer for? Oh, that's a good question. How long is the offer for? Is it till the end?
That's a good question. Well, some people couldn't be on this today. Some people registered, but they're not actually watching it, right?
Right.
So how much time do they have to be able to watch that?
Yes. So once we get the replay out to them.
Yeah.
So it's usually by Friday.
Okay.
Like we give them till Friday to sign up, I think, to get the other free class. Would that be okay?
All right. Yep, that's good.
Because it's Monday. That's gives you all the week. Lauren,
Okay.
That's awesome.
Great.
Me, this is great. This is class based on just Analatan products. No, not at all. Barbara is
and it's especially the skin. Like I said, so the rosacea one, that's that bonus class. The whole beginning of that class has nothing to, it's not product at all. It's all about rosacea, ways to recognize it, what we can treat. And at the end of that, I put on the new line from Adalotan called Rosie's, the compromised skin with the microbiome, not product driven either. So they're no matter what line you're working with, both of these classes are going to give you information that you can use with any products.
Yeah, that's great. Daisy wants to know if she could share this $99 offer with her students. She's also an instructor at a school. And it speaks to my heart and your heart. I was an instructor,
absolutely.
you were an instructor.
So absolutely.
So absolutely, Daisy.
Yeah.
And then let's see what else. There were some other questions here too. Hang on. They're going so fast. Barbara, do you offer training for Analatan product line?
So I do. So we just moved into this beautiful new building, like 10 miles north of Boston. It's our training center. So I've already started to do live classes, but I will now, once I had this class finished, now I'll be doing webinars and I will be putting them up on the website. So we have a brand new website. A lot of changes happened with Analatan within the last year. So we have a new location. We now have a new website. On that website, there will be uploading webinars. There'll be product knowledge classes. But again, if you're in the Boston area, you know, we're 10 miles north of Boston, and we love people to, you know, come in here and, you know, experience it live. But I will be putting up by the end of this month, I'll probably have 3 or 4 new classes up on the website.
So people are asking, when is the class? So the class is already recorded, right? So as soon as you purchase it, you get access to both classes, just to clear up any confusion. So you get access to both right away. And then upon completion, Barbara you'll email them the certification.
Yep. Yep,
Okay, that makes it easy so you can kind of watch it in your own time. I
yep.
definitely recommend connecting with Barbara though and asking, because I literally like I could have, I don't know, I could just geek out with for hours with you about this
I'm
stuff.
always nervous, but then once I get started, you have to like, hook me in.
Oh,
Because I
you're
love educating, I love training, I love learning, but I love educating.
yes. All right. So, okay, thank you so much. This was amazing.
Thanks,
Is there any
Sheila.
final questions before we, oh wait, let me check the Q&A over here. I was watching the chat. Okay. Da, 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 da. Thank you. My pleasure. Our pleasure. Kim wants to know, get email copies of the slides. We're going to send out the replay, not necessarily the
Yeah,
copy of the slides. We'll send out the replay so you get to watch it again. You could screenshot anything. The main, what I loved about what you shared today was the main slides about pH and percentages was taken directly from the ladies.
right. So it's not like I was trying to fit them into the line that I represent. That's the
Yeah.
standard line against the industry.
Right, 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 right. So thank you so much, Barbara. We'll try to get this
Thank you
replay
so
out
much.
to
Yeah,
everyone. I learn so much from you every time we talk, and I just can't
thank
thank
you.
you enough for just heading up this conversation, being an incredible leader in our industry to take a stance and share what you believe in, because others, as you can see, the people that we're on today, believe in this philosophy too. So I'm glad they have you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
All right, have a great day.